What's up, guys? Maxwell here. I've honestly been wrestling with what I wanted to make. To be completely transparent. But, something that came to mind to me, even amidst, struggling with sin, with lust, kind of wondering, okay, those limiting beliefs, telling myself, okay, Maxwell, why make these videos if you're going to fall back into the same sin that you proclaim you convicted to be free from? What's the point in that? It's very easy for that to go through my head and tell myself that and question, Maxwell, why commit yourself to get rid of a sin that you are intentionally going back to? Because I've been struggling on this journey. But what I truly wanted to mention is that no matter, and this is not to negate the power that is sobriety, that is freedom, with what I'm about to say, but this is a mindset that I've thought about in my deepest, darkest periods, and something that I thought is something you need to outgrow when times get good. But at the end of the day, what you feel in your lowest moments, or what you feel in your moments when you're just crawling back out of sin, those are the emotions. What you do in the early stages when you're crawling back out of your sin and journeying back into the life that you had when you experienced freedom, sober, anything for that matter. What you need to understand is that that feeling of quiet desperation, you need to build that up within, you need to build that as a habit within the early stages of your most difficult times. So say, for instance, I'm talking, to be honest, it's hard for me to kind of say, but PMO, porn masturbation orgasm, has been crippling me more than I'd want it to. But what I'm getting back to understand is that in the periods of my life where I was able to go 10, close to 11 months free, close to 6 months free, what I understood was I was only able to get there because of the quiet desperation I built up in those periods when I felt the whole it's now or never. But what I didn't do was recognize that running away from what you don't want in your life, that's good. Especially sin. But what's also important is that in order to get true freedom, what you truly want, which is true freedom. In order to get that, you have to not fear your emotions, even when you are well beyond freedom. Like if you're 2 years, 3 years, you cannot fear your emotions. You cannot fear expressing something that is emotionally vulnerable when you're well beyond freedom, because when we do that, we're denying a part of ourselves that got us to the freedom that we would be experiencing in the first place. So say somebody who got to the 2 years, 3 years, say they built up that habit of being emotionally vulnerable, because addiction of any kind has its roots. And not to say we should romanticize what we go through, but when we come face to face with what we experience and recognize that this, God is allowing this because if Jesus knew that dying on the cross was the wrong way to go, was the wrong action to take, he wouldn't have done it. Notice how when Jesus died on the cross, there was equal parts sadness, pain, but also beauty and joy, because Jesus was freeing people from sin and to free themselves to live a new life. Like I said again, not to romanticize pain. There's a difference between romanticization and seeing the beauty that pain can give when we use it as introspection to lead a better life. When we use, Jesus calls us to use pain as a way to have it as introspection, to live in the life that he's called us to live. And the only way that we can do that is to recognize that the quiet desperation that we feel within our darkest moments is something that we carry with us all throughout our life when we are on the path towards freedom. Because if we don't, we will inevitably, as cliche as it sounds, we will inevitably go back to our old ways. You need to recognize, and I'm telling myself as well, like when I say you, not only am I telling my audience out of wisdom, but I'm saying you like I'm pointing myself back at me. Because I'm recognizing as well that what got me to where I was in the past, I had the right blueprint for it. I had the right method at the beginning. But it's also the fact of what unnecessary components and steps are you placing into that blueprint that's supposed to be useful that are inevitably going to mess it up. What do you like? It's recognizing the fact of what blueprint that you used at the very beginning that was so useful. What did you do? Talking to myself as well. What did you do to distort its success. Because when I was in that period of quiet desperation, before I went 11 months free, I was thinking about my family. I was thinking about my future. I was thinking about my career. I was more so thinking about, I was emphasizing the family aspect, because when you emphasize the family, there's a domino effect with everything else, because everything we do in this life, it's not for us, it's to glorify God. And another way of saying that, a way that connects to that, is also like our family. It goes God, family, and that connects to success for our career. It's like you have to have the circuit in the right, and like organize everything chronologically to get to where you want to be. And when I was going, I remember the very beginning, I say very beginning, like 2 years ago, when this channel, I was still, when I was getting back in the momentum with the channel, then I was recognizing that I had the right place, I had the right pieces in place. I was telling myself, okay, I have the focus on denying myself, denying my flesh, doing things for other people, for a recovery program I'm still in, though, needing to do more work with that, getting back to that, former state of mind of selflessness, but recognizing that my original plan, freedom, was just, okay, like I said, God, family, purpose, success in school, because I want to be able to succeed so I can provide for my family and do, say, have a wife in the future. But my main flaw was my circumstances in my life then were so, I just had the wrong perspective, where I was strapped in a bubble with the wrong people in my life then, or it was a circumstance where I was very isolated, very, much alone, and the few people that I had, or it'd be like, it was something where you could have people in your life, but if those people make you feel more alone, then oftentimes we feel like we have to take everything on ourselves, and we have to step forward for ourselves. And during that period of time, I had the wrong people, or more so, I'll just say I had one wrong person in particular that was like, it's sort of something where oftentimes when we have, it could just be one person, when we have even like the wrong one person in our life, that can be blocking our blessings from opening up to the other people in our life that God has already blessed us with. And when that happens, the devil can start to create these lies that tell ourselves that, oh, you need to escape from where you are, because your life is a mess. You need to get somewhere else. You need to get somewhere else. And I remember putting the idea of wanting a wife so much on a pedestal, because during that period of time, of course, as a whole, you know, when we're recovering from lust, pornography, one of the core needs deep down that we want is intimacy, connection with a woman, just wanting a future with a wife and have children. But the thing was, although I had the blueprint, I was putting although I had the blueprint and I had, you know, the right thoughts and the right pieces were in place, it's sort of something where it's like, say, you know how when you're building something, say like a ping pong table, say you're building something, and when you're building it, you have to make sure that all the pieces are intact. Because if you have all the screws, but one screw is either too big, too small, or it's broken, it's going to mess up the entire table. It's the same thing that I was doing for the longest period of time when I was on this journey. Like from late 2023 to late 2024, I had all the right, I had the right ideas on paper in the blueprint, which was focusing on being selfless, focusing on, I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. Ugh. Dude, that's the thing with this, like, you know, when you fall back into this, when you're like going back to like recovering, it's like your mind just gets all scrambled and you start like slurring your words and, you know, brain fog and stuff like that. But I had the right blueprints, doing things outside of myself, doing things for other people, doing, you know, for success when I was in college, then doing everything that, like, you know, transcends what I want. Like, I had that on paper. I was thinking of that on paper, like, as a whole. But the one flaw was that for the specific, you could say, screw, for the specific piece when it came to relationships, that mindset was defective. And that set everything else apart. But the only difference was it was a gradual decline. Because this screw, the piece that was supposed to be the same size as everything else, that was supposed to be aligned, it was bigger. Because I put women on a pedestal when I was free for such a long period of time. And because of that, I was doing everything that I encompassed for this one piece, for the one, you know, screw that was bigger than everything else. I was idolizing this one piece in my life. And when one piece is bigger than everything else, it eventually falls apart. And because I was idolizing relationships, everything I did was like funneled into that main goal of, I want to be in a relationship. And because I wanted it so bad, as soon as I remember during that period of time, this will be like a future, you know, future elaboration, another video. But when back in April, April 2024, when I had the relationship, we're gonna recover. When I was in that period of recovery, I think I was around like 5 months free then, like April 2024, I was thinking of this recovery process as a checklist and like for greater growth, and that's important. Don't get me wrong, that's huge. But the one the bigger piece I was idolizing was like for future was relationships. And so everything that I did in recovery was I was doing it all for the big, golden goose, which was to be in a relationship. So I remember during that period of time, April, I was calling somebody up to forgive her for something, for apologize for something I felt I needed to apologize for, which was holding a grudge. And so I thought, personally for me, okay, because I didn't see I didn't see myself as a whole, because I didn't see myself further in the future, like of what state of mind I was in, from a third person perspective. I thought, okay, this is important to forgive somebody. This is important to call them up, forgive them, and to move forward. And I noticed that this girl, somebody who in the past hurt me, and I thought, it's important to forgive. This girl who formerly hurt me and cut me off and blah 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 started talking to me again. And at one point I was in this internship, and like this is June 2024 to August 2024, and I remember this same person eventually wanted to be in a relationship with me, and I thought, oh man, like God is finally answering my wish, like not even wish, but like the desire. I was thinking, okay, God is answering this desire, because like I said, this part of my life was something I was idolizing above everything else, because that was something that I truly believed at the time that once I got, I would truly be happy. I would truly be fulfilled. And it's like, if it's somebody sent by God, then it makes what you're already doing in life, 10 times easier. But because I put that idea so much on a pedestal, I settled for somebody, and of course we don't wrestle, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but spiritually I was wrestling with somebody who had hidden demons, and I could sense that deep down, but I didn't put two and two together. Didn't put two and two that this person was not sent by God. I didn't recognize that, okay, something's off about this person. Move on to the next person, or just respectfully say, hey, I'm not interested. But because I put the idea of wanting to be in a relationship so bad, I was tricked by the devil into him sending me somebody in my life who had the appearance of a Christian, had the appearance of somebody that I was thinking and that of an idea that I was praying for. And because I was so set on that idea, so set on my convictions, I did not question anything, because I could not see the full scope of how the devil worked. And because of that, like I said, I settled. And how I was able to, and I had to learn the hard way that this relationship was inevitably going to lead me back down to square one, into sin of lust, because one of the main aspects of how I knew this person wasn't sent from God was just I started to get lazy in terms of uh, not going back to challenging myself. Guys, so just wanted to continue from the video. I think my phone died. That video was like from like over a week ago. But yeah, I mean, I'm more so just I think everything in the video I said what I wanted to say. I since it's been a period of time since I had that thought, I'm working to figure out like just how to conclude it, but I think the best way to conclude it is just solely the idea that I'm sure you've seen this so many times before, with the idea of when you just place the idea of being in a relationship so much on a pedestal, we really distort the gift of relationships that God gives us, because when we idolize something that is not Him, then everything else in our life just begins to fall apart. Even if it's distorted purely because we're focusing on something that is a byproduct of His goodness, and just something that does not have a domino effect. Like when we hyper focus on one thing and that's all we do, then we just truly forget about everything else that He has to offer, especially within this born free journey. And yeah, really just more so to wrap up that story. God really taught me such a huge lesson about just solely idolizing the idea of a relationship, because the more that I did that, the more that, like I mentioned, settled, and the more that I began to, ironically enough, not find God's best. It was just all um it was just all you start to go into a materialistic mindset. You start to see what you want as something to possess, as opposed to something that is God's gift to you when you seek Him out in all areas. Like when you pigeonhole one thing as the whole main thing, like your flesh doesn't know the difference between idolizing something and something that you're made for. So when you idolize relationships and women and just the concept of the opposite sex as a whole, your flesh, like you're of course operating in the flesh, and your flesh confuses that with, this is your life. Like your flesh is just in this programming where it thinks, oh, well, I guess this is my life. My purpose is to be in relationships and for marriage and for sex and for all that. And when obviously that's completely false. It yeah. So so it was just like, because I idolized that relationship aspect, that idolization ended up reflecting in that person that I formerly dated. And so it was just a consequence of my own desires, a consequence over my idolization, and it reflected in that other person. It was like I was looking in a mirror, in an indirect mirror, in the person that I was formerly dating. No, no kind of hard feelings for that other person at all. It was it was basically just it wasn't the right fit at all. And so yeah, it's really just the less you idolize this concept of relationships, the more that you feel less stagnant, you feel less pressure, anxiety, just doubt, and you protect yourself from any just existentialism of self-worth uh, and just anything that gives you the emotion of confusion that is not from God, and it's a slippery slope. It's a hidden slippery slope, like I mentioned. Just the whole just started to unintentionally get lazy, super distracted, lack of discipline, and that was solely because the idolizations I had reflected within that person and how that person carried herself. And like I said, no hard feelings, but it's sort of something like it's that phrase people say. This is more of a secular phrase, but it's like you what you think you attract, because I was thinking within idolization. I was thinking within, I put this over my purpose. Even when I was on my purpose, I was still putting the idea of being in a relationship over my purpose. So my purpose, back in 2024, I treated my purpose as a temporary filler, best way to put it. And so, yeah, it's all a domino effect. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. And Max and Maxwell signing out. More so, just want to give an update with these videos. It seems like I've having a schedule of once every 2 weeks. That's what it seems like so far. So yeah, be prepared to expect one video every 2 weeks. It's crazy how much time is flying. Life has just gotten busier with being part of, say, like we're biblical recovery group, and just working for my dad, and just solely working to, needing to get those resumes out more, honestly, but taking on any job opportunity I get within, solely within my film major, which I am going to be posting more cinematic edits on my Skyled Maxwell editing channel. Yeah, just to, so if you want to, this is just more of, these videos, of course, if you've been a long time, just subscribe, or more of a unfiltered, unedited documentary style documentation, which is type of style I really like for this channel. Honestly, I love. But if you want something that's more meticulous and have my, why did I say halves, has my creative energy in it, then that editing channel might pique your interest. But yeah, take care and God bless.